Before we dive in, viewer discretion is advised. This content is for entertainment purposes. What happens when live television turns into a battlefield? When the clock is ticking, the cameras are locked in, and every breath can tilt the story one way or another. It's just another Tuesday morning in Manhattan, but inside the Good Morning America studio, something electric hums beneath the gloss. The air smells of coffee. Makeup lights buzz softly, casting halos over mirrors as assistants rush past with brushes and quartz. A producer whispers into her headset going live in 60. And suddenly, even the air feels tighter. The set gleams under the floodlights, floors polished to a perfect reflection. Every chair, every mug, every camera mark is exactly where it should be. Order, control, the illusion that nothing ever goes wrong here. But behind that perfection, hearts beat faster. The countdown has started and the next few minutes will be broadcast to millions. Samuel L. Jackson steps through the side door like he's done it 1,000 times. Calm, composed, that easy stride of a man who's seen every kind of chaos and still walks untouched. A dark suit, sharp tie, his signature mix of confidence and cool. He nods politely to the crew, flashes a smile that doesn't need rehearsing, and takes his seat. He's here to talk about his latest film, a high-octane blockbuster. Another chapter in a career built on grit and charisma. Just another interview, 15 minutes. A few laughs, a wave to the audience, then out. Easy. Across from him sits Michael Strahan. The face America wakes up to, athlete-turned-anchor charisma wrapped in a tailored suit. His grin lights up under the cameras, practiced and perfect. He's the guy who can make anyone feel at home on live TV. But this morning, there's something restless in his energy. Something a little too sharp beneath the charm. Robin Roberts sits to his left, steady warmth radiating from her, the show's moral compass. George Stephanopoulos is farther down, scanning his notes, precise as ever. Together, they're the well-oiled engine of morning television. The audience trickles in, sipping coffee from paper cups, whispering with that excited hush that always precedes a live show. In the control booth, someone counts down, voice steady through the headset. We're live in 5. The red tally light glows on camera 1. The air thickens. 3, 2, 1, Good Morning America. Michael's voice bursts through the speakers, all sunshine and confidence. Applause fills the studio, bright and obedient. Samuel smiles, giving a small wave. Cameras shift. The lights tilt slightly to catch his profile. The rhythm of live TV moves like clockwork. Smooth, predictable, flawless. But even in that first minute, there's a pulse under the perfection. A flicker behind the smiles. The crew feels it, though they can't name it. The temperature in the room seems to climb a few degrees. The laughter just a shade too quick. Somewhere deep inside the hum of the machines, the countdown to something unexpected has already begun. 38 seconds. That's all it will take for everything to change. The first few seconds glide by like a dream. Smiles flash, cameras pivot. Michael leans in, his tone smooth as silk. Sam, this new movie of yours, man, it's wild. You're jumping off cars, fighting 6 guys at once. You're doing your own stunts again. Samuel laughs lightly, the kind of warm rolling chuckle that always wins a crowd. Yeah, man, still got a few moves left. The audience laughs along, their comfort returning. George nods approvingly. And for a brief moment, the studio breathes easy again. Everything feels right, effortless, the way it's supposed to on morning television. Michael grins, riding the rhythm. That's what I love, man. You just don't quit. He pauses, eyes glinting, his voice dropping just half a note lower. But seriously, at your age, how much longer can you keep doing those wild action roles? The question hangs in the air like static. A half-beat of silence stretches too long. A tiny shift ripples across the room, barely visible, but impossible to ignore. The laughter dies mid-breath. Robin's smile falters for a fraction of a second. George glances down at his cue cards as if the right words might be hiding somewhere between the lines. Someone in the audience coughs, sharp and lonely in the quiet. Samuel doesn't answer right away. His face doesn't change much, just a subtle tightening around the eyes. A small pause before he speaks. The kind of pause that means something's shifted. He leans back slightly, voice calm, almost too calm. My age, he repeats. The words slow, deliberate, balanced on the edge of irony. I didn't realize passion had an expiration date. The line lands with quiet precision. It isn't loud, but it cuts clean. A few nervous laughs flutter through the studio, thin, uncertain. The kind people use to fill space when they don't know what else to do. Michael chuckles too. But there's a crack in it, something brittle. Hey, come on now, he says quickly, waving a hand. You know I'm just messing around. Robin steps in, voice soft but steady, trying to smooth the edges. I think what Michael means, she says gently, is that you've been doing this for so long, and you still bring that incredible energy. How do you keep that going? It's the kind of save only a professional can make, graceful, seamless, but the air doesn't fully recover. The rhythm of the room has changed. The warmth that filled the space moments ago now feels thinner, fragile. Samuel gives a small smile, polite but distant. You keep going because you love what you do, he says simply. And I love this. Always have. His tone is even, but his eyes carry something sharper. A quiet warning no one can quite name. Michael nods too quickly, his grin back in place, but his gaze flickers, just a flash of unease before the cameras catch him smiling again. The audience applauds, grateful for the cue, but the sound feels offbeat, forced. Under the bright lights, the surface of the show still looks perfect. The laughter returns. The smiles hold. The cameras keep rolling, but the perfection is cracked just slightly. A hairline fracture running through the glassy surface of morning charm. It's small enough to miss unless you're paying attention. Because once a crack appears, it never really goes away. It just waits for pressure. Michael leans forward, elbows resting on his knees, eyes locked on Samuel with that practiced glint of curiosity. You know, Sam, he says, his tone half playful, half probing. You've been doing this for what, 40 years now? Maybe 50? You ever think about when it'll be time to pass the torch to the younger generation? There it is again. The smile, the cadence, the so-called honesty that lands more like a jab than a question. The audience shifts, sensing something just beneath the surface. Robin's head tilts slightly, her instincts flaring. George glances up from his notes, but doesn't speak. The air grows heavy, and that way only live television can create, tight, brittle, expectant. Samuel's fingers rest lightly on his knee, motionless. Pass the torch, he echoes, voice smooth as glass. I didn't realize someone was holding a stopwatch. The audience chuckles weakly, grateful for an escape valve, but the laughter dies too fast. Michael presses on, sensing attention, mistaking tension for engagement. Come on, man, you know what I mean? Everyone's gotta run. You've had a hell of one. But even the best eventually gotta slow down. Let the new blood take the spotlight. Robin tries to interject, her voice soft, quick, Michael. But he waves her off with a grin that doesn't reach his eyes. No, I'm serious. It's a fair question, you've done it all. So, when do you say, okay, time to step back? The words hang there sharp and echoing. Something in Samuel's face shifts barely, but enough to change the gravity in the room. His jaw tightens just slightly. The smile fades, leaving a stillness that feels dangerous in its calm. Honesty, says quietly, is one thing. Disrespect is another. Honesty, the audience goes silent. Robin's hands fold in her lap, knuckles pale. George looks up, eyes darting between them like a referee searching for an opening. The tension is visible now, coiling between the two men like a live wire. Michael laughs too loud. Whoa, hold on. Disrespect. Come on, Sam, don't take it like that. I'm just keeping it real. Samuel leans forward just a fraction, enough for the light to catch the steel in his gaze. Keeping it real, he repeats softly. Doesn't mean forgetting respect. His voice doesn't rise, but every word lands with surgical precision. Michael's grin falters for half a second before he steadies it again. Hey, I'm just asking what people are thinking. You've done it all, man. Maybe it's time to enjoy the view instead of climbing the mountain. The studio's brightness dims under the tension. The hum of machines suddenly louder than the audience is breathing. Robin exhales through her nose, poised on the edge of speaking, but unsure if it would help. The silence now isn't empty. It's loaded, humming alive. Samuel's expression remains calm, but there's a flicker of heat behind the composure. You keep calling it honesty, he says, his voice low, steady. But that's not honesty. That's arrogance. The line slices through the room like cold air. The audience doesn't move. The laughter that had filled the gaps earlier is gone, replaced by the kind of silence that makes every second feel longer. Michael blinks, his jaw tightening. Arrogance, he says, forcing a laugh that trembles at the edges. Man, you're reading too much into this. I'm just trying to have a real conversation. Robin's voice cuts in soft pleading. Michael, let's move on. He ignores her. What? I can't ask a question. That's what we do here. Honest conversation. Samuel doesn't flinch. His tone doesn't change. There's a line between curiosity and provocation, he says. You might want to learn the difference. The words hang heavy as stone. Robin's eyes drop to the table. George clears his throat but says nothing. In the control booth, a producer whispers, "Cut a commercial." No one answers. Michael leans back, crossing his arms, his smirk thin. Hey man, I didn't mean any offense. Samuel's response is calm, almost too calm. Intent doesn't erase impact. You can hear it. The subtle shift in breathing across the studio, the collective awareness that something has gone off script. The camera operators don't move. The floor manager doesn't blink. Even the red tally light feels brighter, hotter, like it's feeding on the tension. For a long suspended moment, nobody speaks. Robin stares at the space between them, her lips pressed tight, her voice caught somewhere between professionalism and disbelief. When Samuel finally moves, it's small, a tilt of the head, a slow exhale, the kind of gesture that carries more power than any raised voice ever could. His eyes meet Michael's, calm and unblinking. You call it honesty, he says, his tone soft but unyielding. But let's be real, Michael. This isn't honesty. This is ego dressed up as truth. The studio freezes. You could hear the tick of a wristwatch, the faint buzz of the lights above. The silence isn't awkward anymore. It's oppressive, heavy, final. For the first time all morning, Michael Strahan doesn't have an answer. The silence stretches so long it starts to hum. Even the lights seem to buzz louder, the air thick enough to taste. Samuel sits perfectly still, eyes steady on Michael, the studio holding its breath. Robin looks from one to the other, lips pressed tight, praying someone says something to break the spell, but no one does. Michael forces a laugh, thin, brittle. Man, you're really taking this the wrong way, he says, voice wobbling between charm and defense. You can't tell me you've never heard that before. Come on, Sam, don't make it a big deal. Samuel exhales slowly through his nose, eyes still fixed. You think this isn't a big deal, he says quietly. His tone isn't angry. It's measured, calm, but behind that calm lives something sharper, older, deeper. Respect isn't optional, not for anyone. Robin finally speaks, voice tight. Maybe we should take a quick break. Michael interrupts again, his grin twitching at the edges. Oh, come on, Robin, we're just talking. Sam knows I'm just asking the real questions. Real questions, Samuel repeats under his breath, a note of disbelief lacing the words. Then louder. Real journalists don't ambush their guests. The room freezes, you can feel it. The temperature drop, the oxygen vanish. Robin's mouth opens slightly, but no words come out. George stares straight ahead, frozen in that impossible space between professionalism and panic. The audience murmurs, uncertain whether they're supposed to laugh, clap, or stay silent. Michael opens his mouth to respond, but nothing comes. His throat tightens, his famous grin collapses into something uneven. Wow, he mutters finally, trying to recover the rhythm. Guess I touched a nerve. Samuel doesn't blink. No, he says softly. You just showed me exactly where the line is. He reaches down, unhooks the small clip, holding his microphone cable to his jacket. The soft metallic click echoes louder than it should. It's a quiet, deliberate sound, the kind that cuts through chaos like a final word. Robin's hand lifts halfway off the table, a reflex, but she doesn't stop him. He sets the mic on the table. Not a toss, not a slam, just a gentle placement, precise and final. The thud it makes on the polished wood is shockingly loud, a punctuation mark in the silence. The audience gasps. One woman in the front row covers her mouth. Samuel straightens, smooths the front of his jacket, adjusts his cuffs. His composure is absolute. When he finally speaks, his voice is steady, low, commanding. I respect myself too much to play along with this, he says. If you wanted a spectacle, you'll have to do it without me. Robin leans forward, eyes wide. Samuel, please. He stops her with a small shake of the head. No need, he says. We're done here. For a moment, there's nothing but silence. Then, from somewhere in the back row, a single clap. It's hesitant at first, awkward, but then another joins in another. The sound builds, small ripples growing into something that feels like release. Applause fills the studio, soft, uneven, emotional. Michael stares at the mic on the table like it's something dangerous, something radioactive. He tries to smile, but it won't hold. Oh sure, he says, his voice edged with sarcasm. Real mature, Sam? Walk away when things get tough. Samuel pauses mid-step, turns his head just enough for his voice to carry. Tough, he says, calm as ever. No, just toxic. His gaze sweeps the room, the lights, the cameras, the audience, and lands on Michael one last time. You think this is honesty. It's not, it's small. And I don't do small. He walks toward the edge of the set, not fast, not flustered. Every step deliberate, unhurried, the quiet stride of a man fully in control. The studio doors part ahead of him, the glow of the hallway spilling in like daylight breaking through a storm. Robin calls after him again, softer this time. Samuel, please. But he doesn't turn, he doesn't need to. His silence says everything. The cameras keep rolling because no one has dared to cut the feed. The crew stands frozen, torn between duty and awe. George starts to rise from his chair, then stops, realizing there's nothing to say that could fix what just happened. The applause swells again, but this time it's mixed admiration, shock, confusion. The kind of reaction that comes when dignity walks out and leaves the rest behind to reckon with itself. Samuel reaches the door and pauses just long enough to deliver one last truth over his shoulder. Real strength, he says, is knowing when to walk away. The door closes behind him with a soft click, and for the first time all morning, the noise dies completely. The lights seem dimmer now, the air heavier. Robin sits back in her chair, stunned. George exhales like he's been holding his breath for minutes. Michael is the only one still smiling, but the smile is wrong, stretched, hollow, the kind that hides the tremor underneath. His fingers drum the edge of the table, restless, lost. The cameras are still live, but no one moves. No one speaks. The moment feels endless. Then Robin turns, her voice breaking the silence like a gavel. That's enough. And it is. The spell shatters. The show, for the first time in its history, has no script left to follow. Chaos doesn't explode right away. It seeps in slow and disbelieving. For a few long seconds after Samuel walks off, the entire studio stands still. The only sound is the hum of the lights and the faint echo of that door clicking shut. Then, somewhere behind the glass wall of the control booth, a voice cracks through the silence. Cut to commercial. Now. The screen doesn't fade fast enough. The producers miss their window by half a heartbeat, and that half second of raw, frozen confusion beams live across the country. Millions watch Robin stare into the lens, eyes wide, lips pressed tight, Michael's forced grin flickering like a glitch. Then the screen finally cuts to black, the bright letters asterisk asterisk, "We'll be right back," flash across America. Behind the scenes, the studio explodes into whispers and running footsteps. The headset chatter is a storm of overlapping commands. Who's got the next segment ready? Did we lose him? Keep Strahan off camera when we come back. The floor manager wipes his forehead, muttering, "This is bad, this is really bad." Robin sits frozen for a beat longer, hands clasped on the table, knuckles white. George exhales hard beside her, loosening his tie. Michael tries to play casual, tapping his pen against the desk, but the tap is too fast, too loud. "He'll cool off," he mutters mostly to himself. "They always do." No one answers. The red tally light blinks back on. They're live again. Robin straightens, breathes once, twice, and turns to the camera with a calm she's forcing into place. Her voice is soft but firm. "Welcome back," she says. "As you just saw, we had an unexpected moment on set this morning. We want to take a moment to apologize to our guests and to our viewers. That exchange doesn't reflect who we are or what this show stands for." Her tone is composed, but her eyes glisten under the lights. George steps in, his voice measured, professional, a lifeline thrown to steady the sinking ship. "Samuel L. Jackson is a legend, and he deserves the respect of this platform. We regret that he didn't receive that today." Robin nods, her voice tightening. "We'll be reaching out to him personally." The camera shifts to a wide shot. Michael sits between them, jaw locked, eyes straight ahead, every muscle in his face working to keep him still. The producer's orders during the break were clear. Asterisk, asterisk, say nothing. Asterisk, asterisk, let Robin and George take it from here. The next segment begins, but it plays like a hostage scene. A celebrity chef smiles too wide as he whisks batter that sloshes over the bowl. His laugh breaks halfway through a line. "We're, making pumpkin spice pancakes. Perfect for fall." He stammers, hands shaking. The sizzling pan hisses too loud in the silence. Robin forces a smile, murmuring, "Smells amazing," while George pretends to read cards he's already memorized. In the control booth, "This is painful," he mutters. The weather report that follows feels no better. The meteorologist rushes through the map, his voice cracking. "A bit of rain up north anyway. Back to you, Robin." He's off-screen before the transition finishes. Michael hasn't moved. He sits stiff in his chair, staring straight ahead, a statue in a suit. His smile is gone now, replaced by something colder. Robin doesn't look at him. George doesn't either. Between them, the air feels vacuum-sealed tight, suffocating. A paper cue slips from the stack and hits the table with a slap that sounds like thunder. Robin flinches. George catches it, smooths it out, continues reading as if nothing happened. During the next commercial break, Michael finally stands. No warning, no glance. He just rises, pushes the chair back hard enough for the legs to scrape the floor, and walks off set. The door swings shut behind him with a sharp, hollow slam that echoes through the studio. Robin exhales, her composure breaking for just a moment. "What a morning," she whispers half to herself. George doesn't look up. "You can say that again." The floor crew starts moving quietly again, pretending not to have heard. Someone in the control room mutters, "Cut his mic feed." Robin picks up her next cue card, steadying herself, but her voice is firmer now, steel under silk. She looks toward the camera as the countdown begins again. 3, 2, 1. When the red light flares back to life, she smiles. A weary, knowing smile that's all professionalism and quiet power. "Welcome back to Time's Good Morning America," she says. "We're here together as always." She glances sideways just briefly to the empty seat beside her. Then she adds, clear enough for the studio and the country to hear, "This is our show, Michael, not yours." The line lands like a gavel, and for the first time all morning, the balance of power shifts back to where it belongs. The storm doesn't wait for the sun to rise. By the time the Times Good Morning America Times crew has packed up and stumbled out into the New York air, the footage has already escaped the building. 38 seconds of tension, one soft click of a microphone, and Samuel L. Jackson walking off camera. Every frame of it floods the internet before the show's final credits even finish rolling. By noon, the clip is everywhere. On phones, on laptop, on street screens outside coffee shops. TikTok slows it down, looping the moment the mic hits the table with dramatic music. YouTube analysts freeze each frame, narrating Samuel's composure like sports commentators breaking down a championship play on X, formerly Twitter. The hashtags ignite asterisk asterisk number respect Samuel Jackson asterisk asterisk rockets to the top of trending, chased by asterisk asterisk number GMA chaos asterisk asterisk and asterisk asterisk number. When to walk away. Every comment thread becomes a battlefield. Michael was just being honest. One user writes, "If celebs can't take tough questions, they shouldn't do live TV." The reply fires back almost instantly. "That wasn't honesty. That was ego dressed as journalism. Samuel handled it like a king." Screens overflow with reaction videos, actors, journalists, even fans in pajamas giving their verdicts. Memes multiply. Robin's frozen express stare. Michael's grin captured Mitch crumble. One loop gif of Samuel setting down the mic gets millions of shares in hours. Inside ABC headquarters, a mood turns from shock to panic. A meeting is called emergency. Closed doors. No phones allowed. The network's top executives sit around a glossy table under harsh white lights that make the tension look worse. Someone plays the viral clip again on the big screen. Nobody talks until it ends. The silence afterward is thicker than the air itself. Finally, one voice cuts through. "We need a statement immediately," another counters. "If we rush it, we look guilty." Guilty of what? Everyone saw it. There's no spinning this. A younger exec chimes in, nerves barely contained. "Sponsors are calling. They want to know what we're doing to manage optics." One's already threatening to pull ads from tomorrow's broadcast. That gets their attention. Chairs creak. Pens tap. A woman at the far end of the table mutters, "Do we protect Michael or protect the brand?" The room goes dead still. A senior producer sighs. "The brand time's already bleeding." Across the city, the world keeps dissecting the moment from every angle. Morning talk shows on rival networks play the clip on loop, each anchor offering their own analysis. Was it a meltdown or a masterclass in boundaries? One asks. A guest psychologist labels it controlled dignity under provocation. Late-night hosts turn it into monologues. Some playful, others uncomfortably sincere. When Samuel L. Jackson leaves times you time speechless, one quips. It's time to rethink your career choices. Through it all, Samuel remains silent. No statements, no tweets, no interviews, just silence. And somehow that silence becomes the loudest voice in the conversation. The stillness of the control carries more weight than any publicist's carefully crafted apology ever could. By evening, the phrase "when to walk away" trends across platforms, not as a meme but as a mantra. People quote him his calm tone, his quiet defiance, using it as a lesson in knowing your worth. Editorial headlines bloom like aftershocks. The art of leaving with dignity. What Samuel L. Jackson taught us about boundaries. The walk-off heard around the world. Inside ABC. The crisis meeting drags on for hours. PR teams draft and discard half a dozen statements. One version apologizes, another defends. A third tries to neutralize everything with corporate vagueness. None satisfy the room. The legal team argues about liability while the marketing director rubs her temples, muttering, "We can't apologize without admitting failure." George Stephanopoulos stops by the doorway briefly, his face unreadable. "You should start with the truth," he says quietly. "People already know what happened. You just have to decide if you do." Then he leaves. No one speaks for a long time. The clock ticks past midnight, the hum of the city outside merging with the low buzz of exhaustion. Somewhere beyond all this, Samuel sits alone in a quiet hotel room, a phone turned face down on the table. The city glows outside his window. Its noise far away. He doesn't scroll. He doesn't read. He doesn't need to. The world is already speaking for him. Because sometimes silence isn't absence, it's authority. And tonight, the calm of one man is echoing louder than the chaos of an entire network. By morning, even the executives know it. They can't contain the storm. They can only decide which side of it they want to stand on. By dawn, the storm has settled into something quieter, heavier. Not gone, just changed shape. Screens across America replay the same clip again and again. Samuel L. Jackson standing tall, calm, his hand unclipping the mic. The soft click echoing like a verdict. The world has already decided what it means. News anchors call it a masterclass in composure. Columnists write essays about respect, boundaries, and grace under fire. The entertainment shows can't stop looping the moment he turns and walks away. Commentators slow it down frame by frame, studying the silence between his words as if it holds a secret. And maybe it does, because somehow, without a single outburst, Samuel said everything that needed saying. Inside ABC, the atmosphere shifts from damage control to reflection. Robin moves through the hallways with the weight of experience etched in her face. She's tired, but her voice carries new steel when she addresses the team. "We do better from now on," she says simply. No one argues. George stands beside her, quiet, steady. They both know the show will survive, but not unchanged. Something fundamental has been exposed, and there's no rewinding it. Michael's chair stays empty that morning. Officially, he's on leave. Unofficially, he's a ghost haunting every conversation. The producers avoid his name, the audience notices, the network statement goes live before noon, measured, apologetic, clinical. But the real message is the one no one writes, that the audience saw the difference between confidence and arrogance, and they chose which one deserved applause. Meanwhile, Samuel remains silent. No interviews, no statements, no corrections, just stillness. That silence becomes legend. It isn't absence, it's authority. Commentators start calling the moment the walk-off heard around the world. Universities use it in media ethics lectures. On talk shows, hosts debate not whether he was right but why it resonated so deeply. By week's end, the viral frenzy cools, but the image remains. Samuel's back to the camera, shoulders squared, walking toward the edge of the frame. His shadow stretches under the studio lights, long and unwavering. The applause still lingers faintly in the background, a ghost of sound that refuses to die. In a world obsessed with staying on screen, he did the opposite. He stepped out and somehow became larger than the frame itself. Because in an industry built on noise, the loudest thing Samuel L. Jackson ever did was walk away.